Hello and welcome to the second part of the Scenario Masters of War for Through the Hedgerow. I'm John Rowe, the game's creator, and I'm going to introduce you to our players, picking up their characters for the second time. Let's do it in the now familiar order and start with Carl.
Yeah, hi, I'm Carl. I've been role-playing for a long time with lots of different systems. As we've said before, I'm playing Dank with Darkly, a Tom Noddin. He has a weaving of a Victorian gravedigger with an unhealthy obsession with the undead and the dead. He's clad in a thick topcoat with a large stovepipe hat and thick goggles.
Fantastic. And Simon.
Well, tonight I'm playing Wally. Wally hasn't got the world's biggest cup of coffee in front of him. I have. Wally is a motley. He's a World War One, or the Great War, as we knew it way back then, survivor, left forever changed by the trenches as a deep, deep sadness in him, only alleviated by sometimes little moments of joy, such as the occasional hearth or an ice cream.
And Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm going to be playing Tumbleguts. He is a bugbear. Once a creature of darkness, now seeking redemption through the light. He's smarter than he tries to let on, by the looks of things so far. But he's trying to regain some kind of honor at the same time. So he's trying to figure out what that is and how that will work in different time periods and how we can enact that.
Yeah, perfect. Right, and the scenario so far, you Briar Knights have travelled through the hedgerow back to the year 870, the cold January morning for the Battle of Ashdown. Now, this is in fact the home time period of Tumbleguts the Bugbear, and so he's a native of this land. The others have found themselves smack bang in the middle of a battle divided by great snowy blizzards and clashing armies. So far, Tumbleguts and Wally, who've made your way across the battlefield, you have captured and then lost a Danish prisoner, but you've befriended Crawban, the Tatterdemalian scarecrow, who has pledged service to you if only you don't force him to go back and stand guard over a wheat field somewhere. And you made your way to the Field of Bones for an encounter with the mysterious old god known as Grim. Meanwhile, Darkly, the spider, made his way into the Wessex camp and was instrumental in persuading King Ethelred to rouse himself from his prayers and lead his army to go to the aid of his brother, Prince Alfred, who is valiantly battling with a immensely greater Danish force. We've all met together on the Field of Bones. We've solved Grim's riddle in a particularly dark and tragic way by being witnesses to the death of Sidrock, a Danish thane, and his lover, the shield maiden Freydis. And old Grim has promised you a blessing to call on him when you need his power. But he will take something in return. So that led to us having a respite, recovering somewhat from our exertions, and we're ready to move on and conclude the adventure. But first, I was very stingy last session. Actually, I was just playing Forgetful, and wasn't giving out prizes as I should have been while you were doing some marvelous things. So I'll remind you of some of the marvelous things that Wally and Tumbleguts both confronted the big berserker Longshanks, and Tumbleguts used a hex to befuddle him, and Wally used one of his pranks to wrongfoot him. And I think for the kind of sheer quickness of that, both of you need to roll a d20, and I'll tell you what your prize is, and you can scribble it down.
4.
4 is the One-Eyed King. That could be used to improve your might, but your might is so high that I don't think you would succeed in improving it at the moment. And
Yeah, it's a D8 in a minute.
yeah. And Simon?
Number 11.
Number 11, Justice. You can gain a new trait. Traits are those little things along the bottom of your character sheet that you can call on a D4 in an unlimited sense over and over again whenever you're in a situation to which they apply. You could invent your own trait. That's a very easy reward to acquire. Anyway, then we moved on a little bit, and Darkly went down to the Wessex camp and impersonated the voice of God to get Ethelred on the move. And I think anybody impersonating the voice of God ought to be rewarded for it, in some sense. So, do you want to roll a d20, Carl?
Yep, a 4.
4, well, we know what that is again. That's the One-Eyed King improving might. That actually could be something that was worthwhile for you, because I think your might isn't very high.
Is only a D4.
Yeah, so it would be an affordable accomplishment. Then, moving on a little bit further, there was the business with the encounter with Grim and the malignity of ravens, and you got the ravens under the tree and dropped a bunch of snow on them, and I thought that was brilliantly done. So that's another one for Simon and Alex, could both roll a d20 there.
Number 5.
Number 5, the Druid, gain an arcane virtue. But of course, if you're not arcane, then that won't help you. And Alex?
19.
19, the Sun. Advance your Grammary die. Again, that might be appealing to you. I think your Grammary die is
D4 currently.
D4, so getting it up to a D6 is affordable. Yeah. And there was also the business of Sidrock the Younger and the Shield Maiden Freydis, and Carl, you presided over that with a slightly psychopathic sensitivity. You considered that it was your duty to slay her when she was, but nonetheless, it was an engagement with what was going on. So I think a D20 there as well.
Okie dokie. Well, that's what the Fae are all about, the Dark Fae, anyway.
It is.
That's a 19.
And that's improving Grammary, but you're not an arcane character, so that card is going to be useful to you, but you won't be able to claim that particular reward from it. Okay, then, there's our cards, and now the story will be continuing. I just want to check something out. We're high up on the ridge where one of the initial clashes took place, just a short distance away from the horrid field of bones. The area is starting to fill with ravens again. You've been passing through a place where there was a lot of corpses, and the Margrave Raven looks through the eyes of corpses. So, he will have been seeing your passing and noting your activities, for that reason, we're going to be starting the session with the Nemesis die, advancing one more step to a d6. But I need to know from you, your original plan had been to make your way under Crawban's direction to the Danish camp, and Tumbleguts, you'd acquired a rather natty Danish cloak with some fur trim that could have been used to disguise yourself.
Yeah.
Is that still your intention now, or are you instead wanting to go looking for Ethelred and Alfred now that you've met with Darkly and you know what's occurring in the household of Wessex?
Well, there is the other option of going to the tree and trying to get a thorn. Say using that from Grimm's advice, as it were.
Yes, indeed, that could be. Grimm certainly mentioned the reason why Longshanks is invulnerable. That only a bloom on the a winter bloom on the blackthorn is the only thing that hasn't sworn an oath to do him no harm. So to go seeking the naked thorn where you first started would be another thing to do. So what's your wish of those things? Have a little bit of a character moment discussion.
I think it's worth us discussing it first. Well, in terms, we can try to find a way to kill the champion, but from what I saw into him earlier, there is something that could be redeemed. I feel like that is something that could be followed up. I would like to redeem this creature.
Well, that's all well and good. However, these things, you tend to only kill part of them. You rarely kill them in their entirety. Now, whether you would kill the mortal or the essence inside of him is another matter entirely.
It would be good to bring a little light back into his world.
Well,
Oh, maybe not, sir. If you want to hide in the shadows, like your chimneys and such like.
well, I've only just come back from below and beyond. It is unpleasant.
Everything's unpleasant around here in a
I-
minute, unfortunately. Well, I feel like, say, as you say, killing one part of him is all we could really do. Chances are that would be bounced onto the mortal. The champion would possibly grow stronger, and we'd face him again. Or someone would. Would it not be better to try and remove him entirely by removing the malignity?
A lot of kind of good troll wisdom there from the dark side. Yeah, I like that. And in fact, Alex, I'm not approving of the course of action, but I just thought it was a bit of role played. What Tumble Guts would have as a perspective on things. Very, very nice indeed. And so claim a prize from me at the end for that bit of role play. And so decisions then. In the Danish camp, you were told is the troll wife, the hag witch, whatever it is, that supposedly has enchanted Longshanks to make him so invulnerable. Down there, or further back in the valley, is the hill with the naked thorn on it. Somewhere in that direction will be Alfred and Ethelred, and the central clash of the armies. Give me a direction.
Decisions.
I'm just trying to think where the champion's most likely to be, because that's what Toboguts wants to go after.
There is no point hunting a champion without an appropriate weapon.
Reasonable.
Or
It
we
can't
could
be
be
reasoned with.
outmatched and slain, if that's what the light desires.
Who's to know? But I'd rather not be slain if it's all well and good. I've seen enough of death in my time.
Quite.
If we remove the witch, could we remove the enchantment?
Well, these things are possible. Possible. Aren't you a creature of the arcane? I am not. And so my wisdoms do not extend to that. However, the intricacies of mortals, I think I understand somewhat.
Yes, depends on the power of the spell, and this is one of immense power. Maybe a weapon as backup isn't a bad idea. We go towards the thorn then, chaps?
Yes, let's. Not as apt as an old sock with some marbles in it, but we'll do.
Okay, then.
Crude.
So we're proceeding back into the battlefield. Crawban is somewhat relieved that he doesn't have to take you to the Danish camp. He says that Nana is a ferocious troll wife. Dotes on her son. Something awful she does. There's always bathing him and painting runes onto his body. It's frankly rather alarming, and I would I consider it a very, very good thing not to have to make any further communion with her, if you know what I mean. I'm not entirely sure I would trust my own glamour to withstand her penetrating gaze.
Very true.
What's coming up then? I've just drawn a card, and something not entirely unpleasant for a change. Up ahead, a little fire is burning. You see the fire flames first through the falling snow, and then you arrive at a picket where you're challenged by Saxon voices. And there's a group of warriors gathered round the fire, warming themselves. Some are sharpening swords and spears. Some are stitching together some bits of chain, armor. Some are stitching together some kind of wounds in their in their or each other's flesh. And they're presided over by a young warrior who is going between them, clapping people on the shoulder, exhorting them, commending them for their bravery. And if you've all been stopped at the edge of the camp by crossed spears, he will look up and walk over and say, "What's going on here? And who are these men?" You can get a good look for the first time. Well, not the first time for you, Tumbleguts. You're going to meet him sometime in the future, because this is Prince Alfred before his kingship.
As we see that the Saxons is walking up before we properly seen, I'm going to drop the cloak as well, because that was a Danish cloak.
Yeah.
That would have instantly speared.
Yeah, well, you don't have to drop it. You can certainly bundle it away out of sight. I'm assuming you're not wearing it. I know that it was
No,
a
I wouldn't be wearing
project.
that as a walk up. Just wanted to clarify that, just to make sure.
Yeah, good. Yes, you're not dressed as a Dane. Now, when Alfred takes a good hard look at you, Tumbleguts and Darkly, you are both going to have to make a glamour check against his perceptions to see whether he sees you for exactly what you are. And I'll tell you up front, he's rolled a 2. So as long as you don't roll a 1.
I did roll a 1.
Okay. And what about you, Tumbleguts?
Remind me what we're rolling on again?
You're rolling your grammary.
That was it. I thought it was. Just a second.
Only a D4.
4. Okay, then. In that case, he looks at you, Wally, and says, "Fetch this man a cloak to warm his wretched nakedness, and give him some of that hot broth. You're a big fellow," he says to you, Tumbleguts. Pray join us. All brave men are welcome here. And then when he turns to you, Darkly, he immediately sucks in air between his teeth and draws his sword. And the sword that comes sort of hissing out of its sheath throbs malevolently at you. You've seen cold iron before, and this is the very thing. In the presence of this thing, your glamour kind of melts away, and everybody, the 2 guards with spears, they fall back, giving out terrified oaths, calling on God and his angels. Everybody gathers round. Demons, says one of them. Danish demons. Trolls, says the third. Well, Orkneys trolls, says some pedant, as they argue about the terminology. And they call on their prince, "Slay the monster!"
Oh God! Well, I've just got to beat a retreat then, effectively, haven't I? Like it's all melted. It's all come to naught.
They see me as
everybody's reactions.
Well, they see me as a giant spider monster.
Yeah.
So that's not working. I don't think anyone will be dissuaded from that course of action.
Could we convince them that you've been cursed by the Danes?
That's novel.
Do you know what? That's really not a bad idea. I think at that point, I think that's such a good idea. I think you'll jump in.
Yeah, I'll jump in right in front of Darkly. And just, no. You said you've welcomed brave men. This is a brave man. He's here to stop these Danes, the ones who have cursed him to look so horrific, the ones who have cursed him to be so trollish.
The gears are just furiously ticking in Darkly's mind as he's like prepared to book it on all of his spidery limbs. And then he's like, "Oh, okay, we'll do that," and then just drops like on to his knees like, "I have been cursed by the foreigners from over there, those in their furs and mail coats. They've cursed me to a hideous existence, forced me in to look like a demon. That in their foul tongue a drauga, an awful thing to be a Briton reduced to this, a true Saxon.
I'm by the fire with a bowl of broth, spooning it into my mouth at this point, and I just turn to one of them and say, "He's right, you know. It's, it's a terrible thing they've done to him."
Do you know what? I was all set up to do a very interesting challenge here, in which, I'd give you dice for all sorts of things. But I think that little piece of role play there means I want to just say, let's put the dice aside for a moment. And I think good Prince Alfred will hesitate for a moment, and then he'll sheath the sword darkly and clap you on the shoulder and says, "I know not what you have become, but the words that you spoke just now were the words of as true a blooded Briton as any who lived, and you're welcome at my camp."
My liege, Lord,
Yes.
as I grovel and pull myself along on my knees as a pathetic specimen.
Now, the camp is in the process of packing up, so Wally is gobbling down the last of the broth there. Alfred takes a moment to speak a little bit more to you, Tumbleguts. He says, "I know that you walk amongst wonders here, for yon man by the fire is not of the world as I know, for look at his dress. The spider creature who speaks like a man is more than I can imagine. And you," and he sort of looks at you keenly, "well, I know not what you be, but I know that you serve the light. Do I guess correctly?"
You do indeed. I say, my liege.
"Then there is a riddle that perplexes me, and none I have met can answer it. I do not anticipate that you will know its solution, but I will ask you what you do know, and it is this. Where do the bones of Wayland lie? This came to me in a dream I have had often. Where do the bones of Wayland lie?" What think you?
I'm honestly not sure. I'm trying to think what exactly it refers to. So my Celtic history is a bit lax, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Tumbleguts, you could burn, in the last session, I allowed Wally to burn his Gramarye die. You could burn your Wits die, making it a size smaller.
We're removing it because it's only a D4 at the minute.
So it becomes D0, which means it always gets a 1 whenever you roll it. And I'll give you a lore dump.
Yeah, why not? Go on.
Okay. Well, you know this, that Wayland is a smith. He is a smith of the gods. The Danes venerate him too. They call him Voland. He is lame. He can sometimes be found, they say, at the roadside and will offer to shoe your horse. And if he does, you should always agree to it and pay him handsomely. He has forged many marvels in ancient times, treasures, gifts to the gods, giants, elves, but has since rather disappeared from the world. Is he dead? That would be news to you. You perhaps thought of him as an old god. So that is who Wayland is, or was. But as a riddle, of course, it might be more metaphorical about what Wayland represents, which is skill or craft or creativity.
What does a smith do when the fire dies out? Where does he go when there are no more swords left to smelt and no more shoes left to fit?
At the end.
I would say that he does it by the side of the road, if I'm understanding correctly.
Indeed.
No? Was this one
Indeed.
of those things that I don't fully understand?
No, a smith which crafts is no longer fully needed finds those who need him and meets his end, well, where the last person who needed him is.
It's a perplexing one, says Alfred, sadly. Perhaps I will go on seeking its answer.
Indeed.
Ooh.
Indeed.
Some of them allegories.
Check the roadsides for a kindly traveller who offers to fit your horse. Pay him well, be courteous, and maybe the answer will come to you.
Well, says Prince Alfred, I'll certainly do such a thing. But now, and he will start shouting orders to his men who have picked up shields, spears. The snow is sort of starting to thicken again. They stamp out the fire and are preparing to leave. If you come across the answer to my riddle, do tell me. And with that, his cloak swirls, and he and his men are gone. Okay. In their place, you have got the cawing of ravens. Looks like they're back.
Has their fire gone as well?
They stamped it out. But, you might be able to salvage some of it. Or you could say that you grabbed a burning brand.
But just dipping in and just like rooting around and just kicking with my hobnail boots around, yeah. Maybe just one last branch with a little burning ember at the end.
Certainly. Okay, this is a nemesis check just paid off. So return of ravens. The problem with ravens like this, of course, is that they can end up pushing up the nemesis die. It's currently at a D6. You don't want it to get to a D8. What I'm going to do with the size of them is make it a single threat level. Yeah, so you only have got to confront them once. It'll be a D8 peril, and if anybody loses any resolve to them, then the nemesis die jumps to D8. Okay, so you get control of the drama here. You describe to me what you do and what happens, and then we roll dice that fit best with what you described, and we take it from there. If you like, I can roll the peril die first and tell you what it is you're trying to beat. Or you can do your description, and then I roll the peril dice and tell you whether it worked. Whatever puts you most at ease.
Option 2 for me.
Okay.
I prefer not to know the odds.
Yeah. Ravens then are rising from the field of bones behind you. They've been marshalled there by the Margrave, and they are swooping across the entire battlefield everywhere in a great squawking mass. They are certainly seeking you, perhaps seeking Prince Alfred as well, now that we know he serves the light. And whoever they find, they will mark, and presumably Longshanks won't be far behind. How do we conceal ourselves? Or do we just turn and kill them?
Well, if we can attempt to conceal ourselves, we're stood in the open in a camp.
Yeah, the camp's in the lee of a little hill to protect it from the windborne snow.
Yeah,
so this is somewhat sheltered.
Yeah, There's no drift or anything because it's on the lee side. So
Yeah. So hiding would be a possible thing. Yeah. So Alex, you've gone quiet.
Right, sorry about that. Is there any kind of inlay in the hill so it kind of horseshoes, U shapes, like and we can go into
Yeah.
the
Like I
back
say,
of it?
that's the lee of a hill. You can certainly press into that, and you wouldn't be directly visible from above.
Because I've got an idea. If we can all get into there, I can try a Sentinel of Camelot.
Oh yes.
So I create a circle up to an arm's reach, and my arms should realistically go far enough around the both of you.
It would.
And cannot be crossed by an enemy that I name. And if I name ravens, they can't cross it.
That's certainly
So
true.
if we can hold there for long enough,
True.
they will pass us over.
Yep.
Or until your boy shows up.
I mean, it's either that or we try and leg it.
Well,
or we
I'm
just
really
try and hope.
foldy, so I can merrily fold into a small area. So I'm very much at home, like pushing myself into a fish or a crevice.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm diminutive, and with a hiss and whatnot, I'm going to push my brand into the snow, leaving it. So,
What about Tumbleguts? Now he's big, very big.
Yeah,
But he does have a
that's
big cloak. I mean,
yeah, could I realistically hide under the cloak, surrounded by Danish bodies or something?
yep.
Jump in
Certainly
amongst the
plenty of
bodies.
Danish bodies nearby. Yeah.
Yeah, if I jump in amongst the bodies and kind of hide myself underneath there.
Okay, then that all sounds pretty good. So the cloak for hiding under is not serving its ideal purpose there. So a D6 that will offer. Yeah. I've said to you before that the snow is always worth a D4, for any relevant task, and it seems to be relevant here. Trawban simply turns himself back into what he is and becomes a scarecrow, boom, and sort of hangs stupidly in the middle of the snowy field. Wally, what do you think you're rolling?
I think, oh, good lord.
Trawban, by the way, is wily, so he will offer anybody a D6 who wants it.
I'm literally going to try to stay as stock still as humanly possible, taking a line from Master Scarecrow, and just like, as soon as they see you move, we're done for.
Do you think that's wits or might?
I think that's going to have to be wits.
Yep, very good. And Darkly?
Yeah.
Squeezing? Could be wits.
Yep. I'm gonna wits into the thing. I'll use my well, it's going to be elastic form that I'm going to be using in order to.
Yep. Okay. In that case, I'll let you boost your wits die to a size larger.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
If I could use my transfer my many hands bonus narratively into my elasticy form. So that's my plan: is pushing myself up, under, and into some sort of crevice.
Yep.
So
the crows are generating one notch.
One more thing. As my Doom dice has gone up, does that mean that I get to use that? And it's
you get to use it. You can use it once per challenge. So yeah. So remember, yes. Anybody wants to roll the Doom dice? So who wants to take Crawban's D6?
So
do you know what? I'll take it, and instead of my boost, I'll take an edge in that case. So it'll remain at a D6.
Yeah.
So
you'll be rolling 2d6.
Yep.
Your own and Crawban's, and you're generating an edge.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
I'll roll them now.
Yeah. Anybody can also add a D4 in there if the snow is part of your hidiness. What'd you get?
A 5 and a 2.
So 5 is the best.
Mm-hmm.
A 6
and the others?
A 5.
A 6 and a 5. 6 is the best. Well, the 6 wasn't your Doom die, was it?
It was.
That's just about to get bigger, my friend. You've now got a doom die of 8, which is great, except, future scenarios. And
4 was the best.
4 was the best. Okay, rolling the peril. 4. So
Lucky.
everybody scored that or higher. The malignity circles round, sees the scarecrow standing in the field, swoops past the lee where you are squeezed in, flaps low over the bodies with Danish cloaks thrown over them, and then swoops away across the battlefield. And each of you can emerge with a modest success. Sufficient. Good. Excellent. That's the Nemesis check. Hopefully, they're going to recur for a while. I've drawn number 20, normal tarot card 0, the Fool. Up ahead, a frozen river runs under the snow, and the ice has cracked under the weight of the warriors doing battle on top of it. Vikings and Saxons have fallen into the freezing water, and as you kind of emerge out of the snowstorm and you feel your own feet starting to slither and slide underneath you as you go rattling down towards the churning ice-filled waters, you have to make an outcome check to avoid going into those freezing waters too. Basically, I'm going to roll peril for it, and you have to tell me what you're doing not to go into the waters, and you roll a dice based on that. If you're using a piece of equipment to sort of save yourself, you roll a dice based on the piece of equipment, but you can only roll 1 dice. So how do you stop yourself going in, or do you embrace it and swan dive in there, belly flop in there?
Well, I'm hoping that my danger sense is going to alert me to how thin the ice is before I plunge onto it. So it'll give me some kind of speedy reaction. I've got all the legs to splay myself out if necessary to increase my surface area.
You do?
And skim along the ice.
That sounds pretty nice. I think that probably involves your might. I know that it's not your strongest quality, but I think because of the way you described it sort of fitting so well, I'll boost your might die for purposes of that.
Very generous.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Any others?
I did the roll for 1 minute. I'll be back in a second.
I'm going to use my eye for weakness. So as we go towards the river, I'm going to look for possibly a tree which may have broken, or just a branch to try to grab hold of it. Maybe crack it more, but just hang on to it.
Yeah, that means you'll be rolling your virtue dice. Yeah, if you both want to roll, and then when Alex, who's had to step out for a bit of child rearing duties,
I got a 6.
Well,
1 die and a 6. How about that?
Unfortunately, you're rolling against a 7.
Oh, well.
So even with a great roll like that, you're going into the freezing, churning waters. What about you, Ollie?
2.
And another 7, which gets you both into the water with them. So you're getting now carried these great big chunks of ice swirling around in here. A lot of the icy chunks has got blood on them as they bashed and crushed other helpless victims. So getting out is going to be difficult and risks an injury. There are also quite a lot. Oh, we need to make a roll for you, Alex, now that you've stepped back.
Yeah, sorry. So I was going to use my rope and tackle. Is there a copse of trees or anything?
Not as such, but there's certainly kind of some dense undergrowth. Yeah, there's the shrubs, tree roots, things like that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll use that to try and hook onto one of the trees.
Yeah, I think that's pretty strong. I think that's a D8. There's some appropriate equipment there.
8.
Well, it's always going to be. I rolled a 2. So right. Tumbleguts, you're at the edge of the river, clinging onto some rope that has gone lashed itself around a big tree stump, and you kind of hang on to that and pull yourself away from the waters. But both of your friends go past you. Just for a moment, it looks as though Darkly is going to skate, and then the ice just cracks underneath him and shoots up on either side, and he plunges down while he belly flops into the water and gets pulled under the ice as well. So both of them are getting sucked away by the current. There are plenty of other soldiers in the ice as well, Saxons and Vikings, all of whom are doomed to drown, really, in their heavy leather and mail armor, unless they can divest themselves of it. So getting out is threat level 0. So again, a single challenge, a single dose of peril. Peril dice D6, not the hugest. But there's an injury hazard. In other words, if you lose resolve to this, then whatever die you were using to avoid the peril will be burned and shrink a size as you come away wounded. If you want to rescue another NPC, you have to make an additional level of threat. Yeah, Crawban also escaped the waters, and he's on hand to help anybody get out as well. And Alex, because you're not in the water, you can offer assistance of dice of your own, but you won't be losing any resolve, so you don't have to worry about penalty. So you take over the story, chaps. Describe how you get out of the water, and tell me whether you're trying to rescue anybody else.
Did we lose resolve for plopping into the water in the first place?
No, that was just a check. So
no,
there's no resolve lost for that.
Good.
Yeah.
But does the check count toward the die before it's refreshed? So,
no,
for example,
dice don't exhaust with checks.
Okie dokie, righty ho ho. Well, better get out of this drink.
Can I try and throw the rope in front of them so they can try and grab onto it and I can pull them out?
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, it's got a big load of tackle at one end, so it's quite heavy.
I mean,
if you throw it across, it might well get caught between the cracks of ice and form a little line. I think definitely. Yeah. So again, you could use your rope then. That would be a D8 that you're offering somebody with that. Crawban can offer somebody a D6 as he grabs a branch or even pulls a branch out of his own bloody body and sticks it out for somebody to grab onto.
Oh, it's all right. He floats. Like, he can just jump in.
So what are we doing to get out?
I'm going to try to take advantage of the proffered rope and whatnot. Yeah. As I'm splashing around in the river, though, I'm going to knock up against whatever body's nearest me and to try to drag them out with me.
Right. Okay, then. You can use your Doom die. That's a good thing to roll. From the description there, I think might is the die you would use to kind of swim and the like. So might die, Doom die, both sound good. I don't know whether any of your trait dice are useful. And of course, you've got a D8 from the bugbear. Darkly, what about you?
Yeah,
you've got a D6 Doom die if you want to use that.
I do. I think I'm going to. Yeah, I'm all about me. That's generally speaking how it is. So
might die as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably for the best.
Well.
And Crawban's D6.
Yeah, yeah. I'll put a flush then.
Quite
so if I use my my Doom, which is a D6, I use Crawban's D6, and then I use my Might. So that's 2D6 and a D4.
Make sure you know which D6 is your Doom die, just in case.
Yeah, that's all good.
I know Chris.
2 4s and a 3.
Sorry. Okay, so a 4 it is.
Mm-hmm.
What did you get, Wally?
I got a 3, an 8, and a 2, and I bet you can guess where the 8 came from.
Well, you don't need to worry because your Doom die can only go up like that once per story, so it's not going to happen again. Okay, we're up against 5s. 5 is my number. So Wally, you're fine, and Darkly.
Yep. I lose the point of resolving an injury.
Point of resolve and an injury, probably to your might.
Oh, well, that drops to nothing then.
So it's a D0. It means anything that involves your might from now on is just you score 1, and that's the most you can ever score until you get some sort of healing. Now, of course, you've got your medical kit, but you need a respite to do that, and respites are hard to come by on the battlefield.
They are indeed.
Only certain locations can allow you to do respites. Okay, but Wally, you were trying to rescue somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah, so you need one more roll here for getting out, and that's going to generate a notch now. So,
Okay. Let's use my wits.
the person you're rescuing might have something on them. You can still take advantage of Crawman. He will once he's gotten Darkly out, he will try and get you out. So he'll offer his D6 again. Alex, you can't offer the block and tackle second time, but you could offer your might or something like that.
Yeah, I'll offer my might. That's a D8. It's a D8 again. So you could do that, and as we've got a notch, we could knock it down to a D6.
Using that, using your might, thank you very much for the loan. I got 7 for that.
Okay, and the peril was 6, so you're out of that. Did you roll the might as a D8?
Yes, I did.
You did,
and
right?
That was a 2.
Good. Oh. So what we end up with as you get out with your the person you've rescued, we'll check out who that is in a moment. We've got a partial success there, which is where you succeed, but a new drawback emerges that could be just as bad. And you can hear from this a roaring in the distance, and there is a figure come striding across the ice, batting aside the great jagged chunks of ice swirling around in the river, easily forging away against the tide, picking up swimmers, plunging them under the freezing waters, stamping on them until they drown. This is Longshanks the Giant, and he's bellowing towards you, particularly probably you, Tumbleguts, who hexed him before. His wits, insofar as he ever had them, seem to have been restored, and he is on your trail now and isn't going to shake it off. Who have we rescued? Yeah. Wally. Yeah, the man you've rescued is is gasping, obviously, like a fish, and spewing up water and uttering prayers. This is Bishop Hemond. Yeah, Bishop Hemond is a big red-faced gammon geezer with hairy chops and a big bald forehead and eyebrows that stretch out about an inch. And he's saying, "Oh, by St. Guthlac's sainted codpiece, by the holy foreskin itself, I thank you, and I thank you again. Indeed, the Lord God and all of his angels and half the company of hell are watching over me." And he sits up and throws up into the icy water. "Who's that big fellow?" "Oh, no, it's that Danish demon. Not to drown on land, but to die on God's solid earth." "Oh, well," he says, "does anybody have a weapon? I'll have a crack at him."
Oh, crikey.
Like this guy already.
My word. Swallowed half a river and ready to take on.
He doesn't look as though he would be able to stand, but the spirit is willing, even if the flesh is weak.
What a beast.
Are you going to allow him to stumble into battle against the giant? He would win you a pause, certainly. Or are you going to persuade him to a treat with you?
I'm gonna grab his arm and say, "Your worshipfulness, just hold back a second. You swallowed half the river there, and you wouldn't want all them fishes falling out of you."
By God, I think you might be right. Let's delay the hour of our meeting with the Almighty, at least until lunchtime, and move away from that big chap. Maybe in that direction. Onward, Christian soldiers, for me! He roars. He's got an interesting style. He'll pick up a large branch, having lost his sword, and as various Vikings, because you're on the Danish side of the river, come stumbling out of the water, he surges forward, cracking each of them over the head and sending them spinning back into the torrent again. It goes about this. Here's his war song. Drichten mir recht. The Lord rules me. Wallop. They bith me nan as good as one, nor do I want for any good thing. Stab with the pointy end of the branch. And he me ye sat on sweet the good land, and he settles me in right good pastures, batter, and fed me with bewater a statham, and leads me to the water's shore, crunch. While you're listening to this muscular performance of Christianity, you realize that what he is singing is, in your perception, another psalm of the law of swords. It's Elder Law. Who would like to acquire Elder Law of Swords, the 23rd Psalm? Which of you would want to absorb that?
I'll absorb it if it's a law.
Yeah, because you've already picked up one Law of Swords, haven't you? From the Freydis's funeral speech to her lover.
I'm in no condition to consider war.
Yeah.
This has been a harrowing adventure back through the hedge to do the light's bidding again.
Yep, true. Not your style. Let's go into the final encounters. 10. Fortune. The sleet turns into a ferocious blizzard. Up ahead is a ruined cottage. It offers you some shelter, and under Heman's direction, Bishop Hemans, you stumble towards it. However, it has some occupants, 4 Vikings, also sheltering from the snowstorm. They've got a tiny little fire going. They're all crouched all over it. Hemand turns up in the doorway and says, "Vikings, by God," and then kind of cracks his head on the low lintel and stumbles back. Who goes in next, or does anybody?
I'll make my way in. I'm not going to be too ominous in front of anybody.
Yeah.
Little figure wandering in.
The Vikings have point their spears at you and say, Norse or Saxon?
And I rub my hands together and just like hospitality.
They look at each other. Hospitality. What have you got to share?
Story for the fire.
Story?
Story for the fire, a little much else.
Okay, you tell them a story, and during the course of the story, your companions, if you hold the Vikings wrapped enough, can slip in and join you all around the fireplace, and this place then becomes a respite.
Excellent. I'm not sure I've got it in me tonight to tell a story to a pack of Vikings.
Well, you can be thinking about that. If we're going to have a respite here, then Darkly, you're going to be wanting to do some medical treatment, aren't you?
Yep.
With your kit.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got the Physica virtue.
I certainly do.
Yeah, it's a craft virtue, isn't it? You can perform healing during a respite if you've got a medical kit.
Oh, sounds all right.
Yeah.
Is it one use?
Well, one use per respite.
Yeah.
So you could only do it on one person. So you could fully restore your burned might, or Tumbleguts' burned wits by giving him, rejuvenating salts. Who do you think might be more in need of it?
Well, Tumbleguts' wits, really. I think that's probably for the best. So I think my
Alex, you're
might
silent
wasn't
at the moment.
Oh, sorry. So I'll only refresh it back to a D4.
well snap with my might.
Yeah. He just figures you might be more likely to be making important dice rolls, I think, in the climax.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
So smelling salts for Tumbleguts, little and other rejuvenating vitamins from your satchel that will restore his wits. You can also scheme during a respite if you are subtle, and you can search for herbs if you are crafty.
Well, you never know, because herbs, I'm pretty sure blackthorn is one of the herbs. So if I'm monumentally lucky, we could end up with some blackthorn.
Yeah.
You know, or have we got a scheme? But I don't think we have like a solid enough plan to pitch a scheme.
Well, if you are thinking about a final showdown with the
Longshanks,
with Longshanks, yeah.
the big lad, the big L4D.
So you could put a scheme together about how you're going to, because you know he's been pursuing you, how you're going to deal with him. That would be a scheme.
What do you propose then, Wally?
I don't know. Maybe we should just dig a big old pit. I mean, he may be invulnerable, but invulnerable doesn't mean that you're invulnerable to gravity. If we had the fellow there, we could at least deal with him at our leisure. Of course, we'd have to dig a hole very, very quickly or find somewhere.
Then, and we need to hear a story, I think. So, Wally, what is the tale, joke, limerick, shaggy dog story that can keep these Vikings entertained?
I think a story tells of a chap who's so woefully inept that once he gets into a bet with a fellow that he couldn't dig a great big colossally hole. Eventually this chap dug this hole quite a way down and then looked up and realised he had no way of getting out. Something, I think I heard it from an American once, and after one of the wars. It was something like to do with a Brer Rabbit or something.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, a tale of comeuppance. Okay. The Vikings will share a tale with you in exchange. That since you told them of something that goes deep into the ground, and they don't like places like that. That's where the serpent Nidhogg gnaws at the roots of the world. They tell you of something that goes up into the sky. It's a beautiful tree, the best of all trees. It's an ash tree, and its branches spread over the earth. And you see, says one of the Danes, while we little men fight our pointless wars, and everything seems blood-soaked and violent and futile, we must remember that above us span the branches of this beautiful tree. And look you, see there to the far horizon, which even now is brightening, those are its shining leaves. We are all of us sheltered, though we do not know it. And whether as they all agree on what a fine thing it is to be sheltered, and will realize now they've, without meaning to, they have extended their shelter to the rest of Wally's group, including Crawban and not Bishop Hemond. He's a rough and ready Christian bishop, but he's not going to break his fast this morning with a bunch of pagans. So he slips away into the storm to seek more battle instead. We'll meet him again. So Crawban will chew away on some Danish victuals, carefully spitting each piece out after he's eaten it, wrapping it up in a handkerchief and wedging it in a pocket because he can't digest anything. And the story that the Norse told you, that's elder lore as well. It's elder lore of Pentacles, the world tree. Who would like to absorb that? Probably Wally.
Yeah, I will, actually.
Add that to your character sheet. So, have we made a decision then? Because Darkly, this is a respite. I think we'll be using Wally's free respite. So that's now ticked off. So we won't be advancing the Nemesis by taking a respite. You've performed your Physica on the Bugbear. Restored his wits. But you've now got to think about what else you want to do. Do you want to put a scheme together for you are subtle, or do you want to search for herbs because you are crafty?
Well, I think subtlety is always useful. Plans are so very useful as long as we stick to them.
Yep.
So if we're looking for a confrontation,
Wally is subtle as well, by the way. He can make schemes.
Oh.
Ooh.
He's got D8, in fact, so Wally's schemes would cover all three of you.
Oh, go on then.
All these pratfalls come good.
Right, well,
maybe in that case, Darkly wants to search for this stable for any herbs.
I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. Yep. If you getting the plans together,
I've got it all. So roll me a D6 and a D20 there, Darkly.
Righty ho ho. Off we go. That is an 8 on the D20 and a 3 on the D6.
Black Nightshade.
Oh, I thought I was lucky then.
Yeah. Very good for anything to do with coercion.
Oh.
But also, of course, it can power spells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, factor that in.
What do we think for a scheme? What's the plan if we run up against Longshanks the Giant again? Wally, you had a plan last time for dealing with Eustace Childick that worked out very well. Your scheme for that. What's the scheme for Longshanks the Giant?
Oh, bloody hell. How giant is he?
It's a little difficult to tell, you know. I mean, he seems to be enormous, but there's a kind of glamour surrounding him, you know, a dark glamour. What he actually looks like, if the dark didn't have its nimbus surrounding him, would be a little hard to tell. But he seems to be anything between 7 and 17 feet tall. But as Tumbleguts has told you, there's a man behind the glamour. And you had been speaking previously about how you would try and, make contact with him.
Well, are we going to retreat or find our way to the blackthorn tree and make some kind of stand? What is the goal of the conundrum?
To defend a prince, to thwart the spells of a hag, and to defeat or redeem an emissary of the Margrave. A blackthorn tree is a mythic site that can help you.
So if we go back to the blackthorn tree, we can hopefully remove the magic of the hag at the same time as redeeming the champion. The only problem then is the prince.
Yeah. And you'll redeem the champion. How are you proposing to? Because where the scheme comes in, I want to know what I can let you use
Yeah.
your scheme dice for. So, what will your approach to dealing with him be?
Well, you can always send me as a runner and envoy to the king and prince and entreat them to rendezvous at the Black Thorn, bringing all our ends to one neat place. Huh?
Mm.
And then when our giant turns up, then you can fell him, assumingly with the Black Thorn, and hopefully destroy some part of him. And if the hag's runes are upon him, then hopefully we would end that spell. And if the Northmen are defeated, then why would the hag be here?
So you're proposing then the scheme is to remove his runes?
Yeah.
Well, as I say, if we're getting noodly and detaily, I can run off and go and get the king and the prince and entreat them that the most defensible position is the Blackthorn tree. Whether they'll listen to my military council or not, because it's not particularly well informed. I just want everyone in one nice, neat place so that we can bring everything together. And the giant lad's going to he's in hot pursuit, isn't he? So he's going to rock up there eventually. And it makes the king easier to defend. It makes the champion easier to defeat. And if we can draw the hag out, great. If we can't, we'll deal with that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Okay, then. We're moving on then to the final encounter. Turns it over. There it is. 5. A Hierophant. Here at the Naked Thorn, Prince Alfred has made his stand, surrounded by his hearth companions who you met earlier. Most of his troop has been demolished fighting this far up the hill. The whole hillside is surrounded by the corpses of the Danish dead, but more are advancing. And as the kind of snows close behind you and then part again, you can see that you're now kind of at the foot of the little hill. Danes are approaching mostly from the northeast and west, but also are kind of moving around to the south to cut off retreats that way, and then are advancing, closing an ever narrowing circle around the hill. The Blackthorn is as bare and blossomless as ever it was before, although snow is clinging to its black branches. And Alfred is rallying his half dozen men underneath it with bold speeches. All of them are vowing to die this morning and lay their bodies down before their Lord, and he vows that he'll die with them, and they will all meet again in heaven for a feast tonight. And at that point, you two are at the foot of the hill. So, do you want to take over from there?
Which two? Just clarify. Which two?
You three. You three. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All three of you. Yeah. Are at the foot of the hill. The Danes start advancing. They batter their shields with their spears now that they've closed a circle around the hill. They kind of, let out a great roar and take a step forward and bash on their shield. And then they roar again, take another step forward and bash on their shield. And each time they do this, the circle closes. Alfred will see you all down in the dell and call for you to come up and join him. This is a fine day for men of goodwill and true-hearted Britons to die together. Are you with me?
How many Vikings are there, roughly?
In
30, 40?
Certainly that. and
Oh,
more
right.
arriving from across the whole
Oh,
battlefield.
fabulous. Well, no shock and awe where horrid fey creature weirdness is going to help here. No reveal the glamour, go screaming into the night.
And then a deep roar comes up away to the east, and the Viking ranks start parting there. Here comes Longshanks, looking, like I said, closer to 17 than 7 foot tall here. A malignity of ravens is swirling round him at the moment. So any encounter with him will also be an encounter with them, with all that that entails. And
Well,
he is striding towards the hilltop.
I think
Alfred says, he doesn't look so big. And Hermod, who is Bishop Hermod, who is here with his lord, says, I think I can take him, my lord.
wow. Okay.
Ooh. Blimey, he's got some pluck on him. Wally really doesn't like the banging of the shields going. It really takes him back to the booming overhead.
Well, off
he's gonna make his way up.
Well, here we are, and no time like the present, eh? Nervously, sort of going along with Wally, very reluctant.
How's Tumbleguts responding? Is he going up the hill to join the Blood Brothers, or resolving to die together?
Yeah, he's going to go up, but he is going to try and charge up through the Danes.
Oh, the Danes are behind you. You're
we're in front
inside
of
the
them.
ring. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so yeah, we're going to make way up towards them as well.
Well, I told you we would meet again, friends, says Alfred. If you have strange gods, make your peace with them. If you have glorious ancestors, look forward to dining with them. If you have a favourite saint, a little prayer never hurts. I think we're all going to find out where the bones of Wayland lie.
Quite, but I would offer challenge somewhat. I think I want to scream into the wind toward our large giant, to unveil his foul mistress. You know, she who lends him power, for the power is not his; it was borrowed. It was given and borrowed.
Crawburn said by his mother. That's the hag is his mother. Yeah. You're going to say that?
Oh yeah. It's Grendel, and that's what I'm assuming. This is a Beowulfy thing.
Okay then. Good call. Right. Here comes, and remember, you've got a blessing from Grim whenever you want to call on it. Right.
So I think if anything, if I'm like, hang on, when's Beowulf? How familiar am I going to be with that novel?
Well, it's your fate, so probably quite familiar.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. No, I'll take that. I was actually looking for a publication date.
Oh, it hasn't been written yet, if that's what you
I didn't think well, not now, obviously, but even from my age. But I think I'll have seen it probably in the Age of Thunder and gone, hang on a minute, like, I know that. And Grimm's fairy tales flicking through that, going,
I remember them all.
This is Reynolds, like, or Rainyard.
Yep.
Right.
Okay,
so yeah, I think I'll offer out challenge to Grendel, and that when he's slain, his mother will weep for him, and she'll be at the bottom of that frozen lake.
Okay, references to his mother enrage the giant, which means that he is coming specifically for you, Darkly.
I'm going to use the charm to like bash out these theatrical performances.
Yep. So we've got here for him, the Danes draw back. They don't get between, the dragon and its play. So he is threat level 3, which is huge. But if you all act together, you kind of outnumber him, because he's only scope 1 and you guys all together are scope 3. So you could bring his threat level down. But that involves all of you taking part in the challenge. If anybody wishes to not be involved in the challenge, that makes your group smaller. So how many people? So basically, is Darkly going it alone with everybody else standing out?
No, I'll be going with him.
You're going with him?
Yeah,
there's just the one blackthorn tree at the top of the hill.
Or just the one
It's a-
blackthorn tree? Yeah.
So I couldn't rush up there and try to grab a branch or something.
You certainly could.
Yeah, I think that would be blackthorn, a nice big chunky thing to take the back of somebody's legs out potentially.
Yeah. Are you involved in the challenge, or are you standing outside it?
Yeah, no, I think I will be.
Okay, right. So Wally, so that means there's effectively 4 of you. I know there's 3, but the troll counts as 2 against the one giant. So he was threat level 3 with peril dice D10. I'll take him down to threat level 2 and peril dice D8. Yeah, he is armored, which means you shrink any dice you use that aren't based on weapons. He is deadly, which means he's D8 plus 4 when he rolls his peril die. He is tactical, so he's a notch up already. Oh no, that makes him a size up. So he's threat level 2, peril dice D10 plus 5. Warded, shatter. There we go. If you're using trickery or fleeing hiding, then his armored deadly shatter don't apply. So, describe it to me. Wally's given me his description. He's rushing to the tree, breaking off a branch. Don't need to hear more from you just now. What are you others doing?
Oh, I'm going to continue to bait.
You're doing your. I know for you, you're doing your charm. Sorry, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I'm just asking Tumbleguts. What's your involvement? What you doing?
I'm going to try and use Tom Bedlam's Chism to blind him.
Cool.
For the remainder of the day, so until the next sunrise or sunset.
Yeah. Although he is warded, so it'll never last as long as you would wish it to. But
no,
so
it can last 3 minutes while we're trying.
Yeah, it doesn't have to last long, does it? You're going to be rolling your dice to cast the spell. It could be your grammary die. Usually, it would be that. If you've got a herb, you can use that instead and roll a d6. Take your pick.
I can use my virtue die because of the fact that I have.
And you can use your virtue die, yeah.
I can use my virtue die.
So you roll that. And tell me what you got.
5.
And I got 5. So the spell is cast, right? Carl, you are rolling your charm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want Crawban's d6?
Well, I was going to use
That's every threat. That's never going to run out.
All right. Oh, so just keep using it.
Keep using his d6. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Oh, wait
then.
a second. Yeah.
And then I'm going to use old wisdom lore for plumbing the depths of dark things that I know, and tales of warriors.
Yeah.
And
you're on
trolls.
a mythic site, which is normally great for trades, but it hasn't been awoken.
Yeah, that's a ban.
Yeah, well, performing glees is a ban, but maybe now's the time to do it.
Well, potentially, but I'm busy. I'm busy right now. Busy doing the best.
You can see. Well, just don't roll just yet. You can see that this place is a mythic site of pentacles.
Right, and we've got lore pentacles.
You do. So you could sing a glee of pentacles to try and wake the site. You've also got Grimm's Blessing, which could wake.
Yeah, we've got that we can whip that out as and when required. That's a certainty. But these are all things I've got my role.
Yeah.
Of what I'm doing.
Just hold those dice a second. I just need to know, Wally, are you going to try and awaken the Blackthorn? Since you are climbing up it.
Yes, I shall.
By invoking Old Man Grimm?
Yes.
Okay. If you call out for Grimm, then when you break off the branch, lo and behold, down it comes. That's not snow clinging to its black twigs. That is winter blossom clinging to its sharp, spiky thorns. This looks sort of weapon-like to you now, right? You're standing on a mythic site that's empowered, which means, Carl, your trait that you were talking is a D6, not a D4.
Nice.
Yeah.
That'll do for me.
Yeah. You're also part of a scheme. Oh no, because only with the troll is the scheme. Yep.
Well,
so Carl, you roll yours.
So that's
I
what
assumed by
Carl's doing.
invoking his mother, like that was going to count to lure out the hag.
Oh, I see. Of course. Yeah.
You know,
So
while I'm
give yourself
calling
a
out
D8
that,
on that.
you know, once Grendel's going to be slain.
Yep.
A
Yep.
D8, did you say?
D8 for that.
Right. Well,
Do you want any?
Well, I'm going to
do you
be
want any-
shrinking. I'm going to be
You don't have
shrinking.
to shrink anything.
Well, do we not need edges?
You do need edges, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if I shrink a D8 to a D6,
Yeah.
then that still puts me on a good amount.
So tumble those bones.
That's the plan. We've got 7.
Stick
That's
with
the
that.
best.
And Wally, you were invoking Grim. I think probably
Grim.
that's charm for you if you want to roll it.
Yes. A magical D4. I can use my Doom die, can't I?
You can, totally, and I would do.
Lovely. And that gives me a 5 as my.
Okay. And we've got a 5 from Tumbleguts, because that was what he rolled for his spell. So the peril die then is a D10. And let's find out what it does. 10. Okay.
Plus 5.
Oh,
Or...
No, plus 5 because nobody's engaging him in combat. The plus 5 only applies if you fight him. So 10 peril. Deduct your best roll and lose the rest in resolve.
Oof.
Good job I rolled high, because bloody hell,
Yeah.
that could have instantly blasted me if I'd rolled badly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I am character Doom. This is fitting for me.
You are defending.
Yeah.
If you take a hazard, if you pick up like an injury or something like that.
Yeah.
You did pick up an injury before, didn't you? But you weren't defending.
No, I was swimming.
Yeah. Okay, then we're going through to the second threat now. That you've cast your blindness on him, and I forgot to do something. Your blindness dice, you're gonna have to re-roll it. Right? Sorry about this, Tumbleguts, because he's warded. So that blindness dice was a D6. What you have to roll is a D4.
Right. Okay. That's going to be more resolve loss then. Is that? That is a 1.
Crikey. Okay, so the blindness
9.
isn't going to work on him. You'll lose 9 resolve.
Yeah.
Good job. You've got shed loads of the staff.
Got 1.
One left.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going into the sack. And because we've lost resolve, the malignity falls out, and you feel the full force of the Margrave Raven descending on this place. I'm just going to put the die up to a D8. So that means now every time I roll for the giant's D10 peril die, I roll a D8 as well and take the higher number. So, right, Wally, you've got the branch with the blossom. Darkly, you've been taunting the thing, and he come roaring up with his gigantic sword, and he splits the hillside in two with that, sending you scuttling off to one side. Your hex kind of melts off the runes on him, Tumbleguts, but he will kind of turn to you because, like, you hexed him before, and he hasn't forgotten that. What happens now?
I'm going to try to get behind him and just like try to take his knees out from behind with my black.
With the blackthorn.
Hi. So, literally, I'm a very diminutive little old fellow, and
Yes.
he's a great big strapping, potentially 17-foot tall giant. So I should be like a flea under him. So it should be
Should be
plain sailing to take his knees out from behind.
Should be.
And then
is it possible for me to see through his glamour, or attempt to?
Certainly.
Yeah, because if anything, if I could lend you my wits, but I mean I'm part of the challenge, so I
You're
can't
part of the
lend
challenge,
anything.
yeah. So you can't.
But if
Well, your
I
activity
could,
could certainly be to do that. So you'd be
yeah,
rolling your grammary would be the soak die you'd be using. Again, you can throw your
it's
doom die in here.
oh yeah, my
Um,
grammary's poor.
mhm.
My doom is a D6.
Yeah, Crawban is alongside you, thrown in a d6 as well.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing. We're just trying to see if we can get some sort of edge.
Yeah.
On him really, and then deploy my wits later to
Yeah.
give
No,
you a
I like
place
your
to.
thinking. I like your
That's
thinking.
that's my plan. I don't think I'm going to survive.
Yeah.
This well, I think I'm gonna resolve out.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
here we go.
We'll see.
2d6 d4. I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah.
Off we go. 4 is the best.
4 is the best. Okay. Tumbleguns. Oh, and I might as well tell you, I'll roll a separate die against each person for this because there's a bit of drama I'm wanting to generate. The resolve loss is a 1 on the d8 and
No.
a 6 on the d10. So it's 6, 6 resolve loss.
Well,
So
that was
you rolled 4,
lucky.
so it's 2
Yeah,
points of resolve lost.
I'm very lucky indeed.
Okay. I've got an idea to maybe distract him for a minute, but I don't know if this will work. So he's going to be staring me down, knowing that I just tried to hex him again.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you and I would be brothers, given all this. We both being used by the dark, by the darkness. You by the Margrave, me by powers I do not know. I would wish for us to be brothers still, but that would mean casting off what has been done to you and fighting against it. I tried to give some madness to try and help before. I tried to do it again, and you still fought me again. Hopefully, we can be brothers once more in the light. And just staring him down as I'm doing that, as I'm talking.
Good. Charm is what does that.
Yeah.
Alfred is, but I forgot to mention, is acting as an ally on this second threat level. So everybody, anybody who wants to can get a D8 from him. But quite possibly Wally will be taking advantage of that.
Oh yes.
Crawbane's D6. That's only once per challenge, isn't it? But not per challenge level. Remind me.
Again?
Crawbane's D6. Can we use that again?
No, D6. It can be used every threat level. But when you rest, it drops to a D4. But you've just had a respite, so it's gone back to D6 again.
No. Okay. All right. I'm going to roll 2d6.
But Crawban applied it to Carl, so he can't apply it
did
to you
you?
as well.
That's fine.
Throw your Doom die in there if you haven't used it already.
I was going to put Doom die in there anyway. But I was
Yep.
thinking character trait of Defiant.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And Bloody but Unbound.
Yeah.
Like both of those just.
Yeah, they both
perfectly
sound good, so you can, and they're both worth a D6.
Yeah. So I'll add Defiant in there as say.
Yeah.
No, Bloody but Unbound.
Use them
So I'll
both.
add that in there.
Use them both.
Yeah.
They'll normally be a D4, but they're a D6 here on this mythic site. So where everybody's, nature is enhanced. What's the highest number you got?
6. And a 4 on the Doom die, so that will increase to a D6.
Well, I rolled a 3 on the D10 and a 3 on the D8, so you didn't lose any resolve.
That's not bad.
Not bad. And Wally.
Yeah, so whilst all this is going on and people are denunciating himself and whatnot, I'm trying to slip behind him. And let me just
Alfred leads the charge and that distracts him. So Alfred is giving you a D8 with this action.
Lovely. I'm going to use my Doom dice, and I think I'm going to use my wits as well. What does Reckless Spirit do?
That's a good question. What is it?
It's one of my traits. What's it do?
One of your traits. When you've just lost resolve. So you can always use it if on the previous thing you lost some resolve.
Oh, okay. I did, but
so there you go. Use it. Yeah. So put that in there. That's a D6.
Okie dokie. Good.
What do you got?
I have got a 1, a 2, a 5, and a 5.
Let's take the 5, shall we? You
Yes,
are in fact
please.
engaging in combat with him, so
Mm.
he's going to do something unspeakable to you. Both of them, 7 plus 4 or 6 plus 5, 11 is the resolve loss.
Yeah.
What does that do?
That puts me on about -10.
Defeated, in other words. Okay, then. So you
Yes.
rush up, you kind of slam the thorn into his thigh, and the thorns pierce his sort of hamstring, and he gives out a scream. He swoops down with the sword that's kind of smacks you into the air, and you sail gracefully through the snowy skies and land with a crump underneath the blackthorn tree, which dislodges little icicles onto you with a tinkling noise. And then all eyes turn back to the giant, who kind of staggers and stumbles, and it appears to you things are melting away from him. The great kind of nimbus of darkness around him is gone. He's a tall man, he's over 6 foot tall, 6.5 foot. He's a tall, not even a tall, middle-aged man. He's a tall young man. He's a youth. The runes now have sort of turned to paint and are flowing off his body into the snow, and you can see he's pale-skinned and spindly. He then staggers forwards and topples backwards and crashes into the snow. His helmet splits open, revealing the face of a startled youth with a thin blonde beard and long blonde locks. The great cry of woe and dismay goes up from the Viking host, and then from behind them there are horns blowing and the drumming of hooves, and crashing in from the south, this is Ethelred's army coming up the slope. Danes start running. Their shield wall turns round, tries to form in the face of a new attacker, but immediately the Wessexmen are on top of them. And now on left and right, there's just Danes fleeing past you like snowflakes themselves, melting away into the noonday sunlight, which is starting to ride high over the ridgeway. Horses go thundering past. Wessex spearmen go charging past. All of them ignoring you and the fallen body of Longshanks, giving chase to the heathen host and driving it up onto the ridgeway and down towards Reading. And in the midst of all this, you're now standing over the fallen body of Longshanks.
Oh, I know what to do with the site.
Yeah.
The site's told me what to do. Like given my my last roll, I know what we need to do. Tumblegrots, grab Wally. We must into the woods. Into the vegetation, into the woods. Come now.
Okay.
Don't tarry. Grab Wally and I'll grab this big lad. Or vice versa. Actually, you'd probably best grab the big lad. I'll go and get Wally.
I will grab the young man.
Come into
carry him.
the woods. We must go.
What are you thinking, Cole?
That's Leaf. We've got to
Indeed.
get him into. We've got to get him into the hedgerow.
Oh, you will recognise the youth from the previous
Oh yeah,
scenario.
that's
Yes, this is Leaf.
Yeah.
The Danish hosts kind of rushing past you. All of them part and stagger to a side, giving space to one lone figure that is moving through the confusion and the melee with an unhurried pace. A tall man in a long, ragged cloak carrying a blackthorn staff. You can recognize him underneath the hood, just one good eye, glinting blue, and a long beard down to his waist. He's walking upright now and stiff-backed, and there seems to be a hint of mail glinting under his cloak. No longer the kind of gap-toothed, wild-eyed madman of the graveyard. This is grim, come back with a bit of a clearer sense of himself. He will stop you, Tumbleguts, by putting out his hand and points to the body, saying, "You promised me a boon for a blessing. I have come to collect."
This boy's fate is sealed elsewhere. From what has been seen, take the boon from me instead.
Groom will lean forward. He's gotten very tall now, and he's as tall as you, and leans forward very suddenly and sharply. He's got a big beaky nose and hisses, "Don't talk to me about fate. I know all about fate. No one better. Let me worry about fate. You worry about keeping promises. Step aside, Bugbear.
I'll know it better than to anger an old god who will turn me to dust in a matter of seconds. I will kneel down to lay the boy down gently on the ground.
Nice touch. Grim strides past you, also drops to one knee over the boy, places a hand on his face, and then throws his cloak over the youth. The cloak collapses to the ground, and neither of them are there. Just a rag of cloth that is then caught by the winter wind and goes flapping away across the battlefield before being lost to sight.
Well, it's easier than carrying him.
The Viking army is routed. The Nemesis die is reduced to nothing. The Briar Knights will be thanked by Alfred, not by Ethelred. He's not really up for meeting with creatures like yourselves. Freydis, the Shield Maiden, arrives under a flag of truce to beg for the body of her father, King Bagsag, Lord of the Norse. Alfred persuades King Ethelred to grant her this. The only thing that remains for you Briar Knights to do is to pass judgment on Crawban the Tatterdemalion. Now, friends, he wouldn't put a chap like me, my talents, back in a field somewhere. Pros, of course. It's wasted on me, really, if I'm going to be perfectly frank. Think of all the usefulness I could do, the good I could do, because I do very much want to be good, you see. Give me a chance, and I'll be ever so good.
Do you not think the light put him here on purpose? They know he's here.
Yeah, they put you here on purpose as well. This is why you have to pass judgment on him. Whatever you decide to do with him, that is the light's judgment. You can say back to the field, or you can tell him to do anything you wish.
They put him here to help.
So what do you want him to do?
You, my dear man, not stand guard in a field. You will stand guard over the bloodline. Protect Prince Alfred. Work alongside him and serve the light.
Okay, so you're appointing him to be Alfred's bodyguard.
Mm.
Yeah, keep an eye on him, and yeah. Okay, well, he will throw a salute. I won't let you down, sirs. As he goes to depart, the hedgerow is calling you all. The sounds of the battle are fading. The falling snow is starting to be replaced by leafless trees and the long avenues through the centuries. Tomoguts, you're remaining in the Age of Swords. Parting messages for your friends?
Well, that was interesting as ever. Do well, my friend.
Quite Tumbleguts. I hope I won't be seeing you particularly soon.
No, but we will eventually.
Oh, I just like Wally is still probably quite broken from having been flung across, and he just winces and be well.
You too, brave.
And just like almost like just traipse towards.
Be well, yes. Whas through tumble guts hail. Yes. And so then the trees have gathered around you. Wally and Darkly, you are on a dim avenue stretching between the hedgerow with crisp snow underfoot, no trace of blood and no trace of ravens anywhere as you wander together through the centuries to your different destinations, leaving the Age of Swords behind. Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was
There
the
we are.
prequel to Shelter from the Storm. And rewards. Let me do this. What was particularly good about that? All of you get an additional reward for that business with the first meeting with Prince Alfred, because that was great, wasn't it? You know, Wally gets an additional reward for that, for getting everybody a respite in the barn with the Vikings. That was particularly good. Carl, an additional reward for the confronting Longshanks, even though it wasn't your thing. I think the kind of challenge and invoking his mother was all pretty astute. And again, I think that Alex, your showdown with Longshanks at the end there was also particularly powerful. So that's two additional rewards for everybody, plus a reward for making it to the end and winning. So we're going to be making 3 rolls each, and then we're going to be seeing what prizes we get.
I'll be making
3d20 from each year.
So you gave me one during the middle, didn't you?
19, 16, and 2.
19's the sun. Improve your grammar die.
Not bad.
Yeah. 16 is the tower. Gain a legacy item. 1 item in your inventory is a legacy item that you always equip at the start of an adventure. Doesn't count towards the number.
That's good.
So it could be your medicine bag. And did you say 2?
Yep.
Which improve your wits quality die.
Not
one
happening.
size. Okay. Simon, what you got?
We got a 17.
17. The star. Improve your resolve die by 1 size.
Well, that would be helpful.
That's nice. Anything else?
And a 12 and a 15.
12 is the gibbet. Gain an archetype virtue. Gain another one of your motley virtues. So you'd have to go back and look at that. That was 12. 16, did you say? That's 16
of 15.
15. Oh, by darkness hunted. This reward cannot be discarded and must be selected for the prize.
There we go.
Advance your die.
Advance
to a
your
D10. Doom.
Okay.
Okay. And advance your reward die.
Okay.
There we go. Your doom is at hand.
Yes, it should be my undoing.
And
6, a 3, a 1, and a 1.
6 is gain a renown virtue in the Age of Swords. Become famous for something in the Age of Swords. 9 is gain a subtle virtue, but you're not subtle, so you won't be able to do that.
It was 3, not 9. I didn't get
sorry,
I got 6,
3,
3,
sorry.
1, and a 1.
3 is the Warrior Queen. Improve your charm quality dice.
Okay.
What else is that?
1 and 1. 2 different ones. So one is.
Improve your virtue quality die.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably useful once, but that's fine.
Yep. 2 of you need to. So Carl and Alex, you need to decide which one you're going through. I'm going to house rule this a little bit differently from last time. You choose the one you want to go for. You roll your reward die. You can add a bonus equal to all the other prizes that you've picked up over these 2 sessions. So tot up how many they are, other than the one you're going for. That's the bonus you get on your die.
All right. So you know.
So I'm just house ruling this a little differently. Yeah.
So for example, if I'm choosing might,
and
I've got 4 additional
that's plus 4 to the
cards. That's plus 4, and I would need to match the
your
so
current, your current,
yeah. So if it's D4, then I would need 4. So it's an auto.
Oh, it's the highest value on the die. You're advancing 2. So for D4 to a D6, you'll need to get a 6.
A D4 to a D6, so I need to get a 6. Right, so I need to roll a 2. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep, that's good. So my
So
might
what's
would
happened,
be
Dad?
a D6 now.
Your might has gone up to a D6. Yeah, all that
know,
running around
holy.
a snowy battlefield.
Holy macaroni. That's pretty great.
Yeah. And Alex,
Yeah, so D4 plus
which one are you going
5. I'm increasing my Grammary die.
Yeah.
So that is a 3. So yeah, that increases it Grammary to a D6.
D6. Nice work.
Yeah.
What does your reward die look like now, Wally?
It's on a D12.
Yeah. If it ever advances past the D12, just claim any prize you like for free and retreat it back again. So, but
Yes,
there we go.
A
And
wonderful prize tonight.
that, friends, a surprise result there for Simon, but it's about time that result turned up, as we've been missing it so far. Right then, we've concluded Masters of War. You've now got the sort of story of Leif and how he came to be in the Age of Thunder. You've just experienced it in a timey-wimey sort of way. Thank you ever so much for
Thank you
play
very
testing
much.
through the Hedgerow. It's been an honour.
Thanks, John, as our judge.
Thank you.
Very good job
you very much.
indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.